The other one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know where Dave is. I talked to him earlier.
He might be up at reading.
Hi, Polly.
He is not.
Hi.
You're ready to start whenever you are.
I'm ready. I'm just pulling up the agenda here.
Are we having fun yet, Paulie?
Loads. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So do I have to do anything special to call the meeting to order, or can we just get started with the new science?
Nope, you just do it.
Okay.
Order and we're off.
Okay, sounds good. Let's hear about the new science curriculum.
We don't have a formal presentation. We just wanted to kind of talk through what you see on the agenda in front of you and the process that we used to create the draft that we have on tonight's agenda. With me is Jim Rogers. Jim is the science department leader for grades 7 through 12 district-wide, and as the department leader, he played a crucial role in the creation of this draft. So he's here tonight also to help answer any questions and provide sort of that teacher insight to the process. Just like when we create drafts of any other, can you hand that down to Roger? Roger, this is a printed version of all of that, so you don't have to flip through each PDF if anybody wants that kind of copy. Because I know it's a little bit cumbersome to open every single PDF and look at it separately. So that packet is a printed copy. But what you'll see in front of you is a K-12 science.
Riley Ragu.
Oh, nope, you don't need that.
I didn't think so.
K-12 science scope and sequence to show you basically what we've laid out for all of the units in our science courses, K-12. So we worked on this for about 1.5 years, really solidly for about a year. And we had all the science teachers involved in this process. At the elementary level, we had at least 3 representatives per grade level working on the content creation. So we had a lot of teacher involvement. This is solely a work of teacher labor who were very invested in the standards and making sure that what we have created is truly standards aligned. And I believe prior to writing this, you guys did not have board approved science curriculum in a long time.
Nothing like this, really.
Yeah.
It was more just an outline with time blocks and standards.
Can you hear him, Paulie? Paulie.
We'll assume yes.
Sorry, yes, I'm in the board docs trying to look at each PDF and
All the PDFs.
yeah.
But you're able
Yeah.
to hear him, correct?
Yeah, I can hear him.
Okay, I just want to make sure. That's all.
Jim's going to talk to you just a little bit about what the overarching goals were as we were creating this K-12 course sequence, basically, and just what those high level goals were as we were creating the content for each course.
So as we started out, we went to a conference and we learned about the storyboard process, which was new to me. I mean, the idea of creating a story and creating units that would kind of flow together for a classroom wasn't too crazy or out there, but it was something that was never really outlined. So some DPL members and the coaching staff for the district, we attended a conference. I think it was 2 days, wasn't it? 2 days, and they kind of outlined the point of doing the storyboards, the format that we have right now. And just to kind of touch on it, the storyboards are just to kind of better serve the students and our community. So if they had questions on what are they teaching at each grade level, specifically in the different science contents, we wanted to have an outline that was illustrated, descriptive, and something that would kind of inspire our students, the parents, and other stakeholders to be interested in the science courses we're teaching here. We wanted to create science units that would hook students into the lesson or topic. So if you're looking through, you might notice a theme for a specific grade level, especially at the younger levels. It's just to try to tie it into the elementary scope of things so that the kids kind of attach themselves to that unit. We also want to make direct connections between the science standards from the state and the real world phenomenon that they're going to be seeing in the world around us. We wanted to kind of hook them in right away with pictures and phrases that would inspire them to think more deeply about science overall. As a department, I can truly attest to the passion our faculty has for science and for science education. We really love what we teach, and we want to help our students further appreciate science and its applications. We want to inspire the next generations of science-minded people to continue where we leave off. So we started with the new science standards for Pennsylvania. They're the Steele standards. They are based around the national or the next generation science standards, but they have Pennsylvania anchors that help support a direct link to our Commonwealth. We also use the Keystone standards for Keystone trigger classes, and in this case for science, it's biology for 10th grade students. What's next as we work through, we're going to continue to evaluate what we've written. We're going to work together as a professional community to develop common assessments and common laboratory activities. We want to review the curriculum and then also look for materials that we can use to enhance our educational practices within these different classes and storyboards. So if you're looking at the storyboards as they are right now, we just want to note that there have been some slight revisions since they were published. The revisions were really just grammatical, or there was some formatting issues with capital letters and lowercase letters. Specifically, the Science 9, there were just a couple image changes, and those are printed out here. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see those, Polly, if you look online, because I don't think that the newest ones that are uploaded. Really just two images. Specifically, there was one that had some zebra fish that was changed to represent the Chesapeake Bay with a heron sitting on a post out in the water. And then there's also a local salamander in a picture for the new Unit 2 instead of the koala bear. Just to kind of really drive home the fact that we're talking about our local science and local populations in those units.
Yep. And additionally, through each course, we tried to kind of have a local context and also keep in mind that global context as well for students so that they can see how these concepts are applied here, right where they live, but also at a larger scale beyond central Pennsylvania, beyond Pennsylvania. Where do we see these things and the issues beyond just our own local context? So tried to balance the local and the worldly context. So at this point, open it up, I guess, for just Q&A for Roger and Polly of any questions that you have that might be specific to any course or just in general.
I don't have any questions. Do you, Roger?
I'm still kind of trying to check this out. So whenever I'm looking at the okay, this is for what?
So this is what you have, like this one pager per course,
Right.
is like that storyboard overview that Jim was talking about, that like students and parents would get this as a course overview. When you look in,
does this apply to like the applied physics, or is this chemistry, or what is
So this is for kindergarten.
that? Okay, so this is the science K.
yep.
Oh, so
And
this has nothing to do with the applied physics, the honors anatomy,
Well,
honors physics.
So each one of these pages is like one of these packets. So each one of
Oh,
those
okay.
PDFs
I
is
didn't
like
get
a
back
packet.
there yet.
Yeah.
Yep.
So these here, like when you open up the electronic documents,
Right.
the first is what's in this packet, and then it goes further in depth. So if you go to the physics, you'll see this as the first page, but then there's more stuff in there besides what's in this packet.
Yeah, this is just the overview view. And then on the PDFs for each course, like each of those links, Roger, to the PDFs is its own course. And you'll see the standards alignment, you'll see the lesson essential questions and the assessment information, and all of that. But for the purpose of just having that high level view, I printed this one pager.
Okay.
Traditionally, in a science class, you would get an outline at the beginning of the course. During this class, you will go over the following topics. What we try to do is break it down into more digestible chunks and units that people would be able to see the big picture and then start to make those connections as they dug a little bit deeper into the content.
But on the PDFs, Roger, like you should be seeing all of these documents, which you've seen prior to approving other curriculums,
Right, yeah.
curricular content, like where you see the standards and the knowledge and the skills. That's just more granular information. And
Have you started to look at what you're going to be using, like the actual books,
like resources.
the resources? Yeah.
No, not until we get board approval on this, because we want to make sure that the resources align to what is board approved in terms of the scope and sequence and the content, because we don't want to pick resources that wouldn't align with what the board has
Okay.
approved. And those resources do come to you as well as a board to approve.
Oh, I know that.
I know, just stating the
But,
obvious.
okay, appreciate it. Let's see. Okay. I mean, right now I don't have any questions. I mean, I was looking through this today and I was kind of a little,
It's a lot of
dumbfounded.
information. Yeah.
yeah, trying to look at this and get everything going. So,
Well, as always, if you have questions in between now and, you know, the October meeting, you can reach
oh,
out.
I will. So, okay.
You ready to move on, Roger?
Yeah. Praise
Starting
hospital.
to act like some other people I know.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on. Character strong.
Okay, so you guys already had our presentation for Character Strong at the board meeting a couple months ago. And the questions that have been coming up around that is this something actually that we should be teaching in school? I think that's been one of like our sticking points. And we even had some board members not truly understanding the fact that we currently are teaching an SEL curriculum called Second Step in our buildings. So I kind of wanted to gear this conversation more towards the why is it needed for us to teach SEL in school. And then of course, I can make our recommendation, explain our recommendation as to why we chose Character Strong. However, if Character Strong is not something that you would be comfortable moving forward with, then I also have the proposal of renewing our Second Step license, because that license runs out in October. So we would want to be able to continue providing that type of curriculum to our students and make sure that we're meeting all of their needs. So that's kind of how I've laid out this format. And SEL, I know it's kind of become like this. I think it needs to be up there. Can we? No. We just did it today. Finalized it today. So I don't. Do you
The only
want to see
thi-
our presentation?
Yeah, that might not be a bad idea to see the presentation. Have it put up there.
I'll get to the Zoom meeting and we can make you a co-host and
Okay, so, I mean, we're using Second Step right now. This ripple effect, does that continue on past 8?
No, I'm gonna try to
Ripple
find it.
effect is totally different.
Okay, good enough. Because I know
Do you-
second step goes K through 8.
It goes now K through 12.
It does.
Mhm.
Okay.
Do you want to skip and go to ripple effect while I try to get this logged in?
Yeah, we
Would
can
that be
do that.
helpful?
Yeah, we could do that.
So ripple effect is another SEL curriculum. It is an electronic curriculum that other local schools use for their in-school suspension rooms, or so we would want to use it for our learning center. And how they utilize this tool is for when students are assigned to in-school suspension or our learning center for, let's say, cussing out a teacher. They would then pick specific lessons that are targeted towards that behavior. So they might assign a lesson on appropriate language at school, or how to diffuse your anger or express your anger more appropriately. So that allows us to be more responsive then for those students to why they end up there. So we're not just saying, okay, here, go take a timeout in this room, but here are lessons that can help you change your behavior to better understand your behavior. So Dave, who's not here, Nick and Deb have viewed this curriculum in Williamsport Area School District. And so it was something that they brought forth wanting to utilize here in our district. So I'm going to have Deb explain to you a little bit more about how they would intend to use it. We would also use it at Bucktail as well.
So the curriculum for ripple effect is appropriate for middle and high school, and it is assigned per grade level. So if the student is a middle school student, there are specific lessons that are appropriate for middle school age. If it's a high school student, there are certain lessons that are appropriate for high school age. And exactly what Christina mentioned, if a student is being disrespectful to a teacher, using that offensive language, the teacher who is in our in-school suspension room, which we call our learning center, would assign specific lessons geared towards addressing that behavior so that there is something that is more fitting to the infraction that got the student there. Right now, a student goes to the learning center, does the assignments for the day that they're missing in class, and then goes back to class the following day. This is a way to address the behavior, do some reparation for the harm that was done, and then learn something from the experience to then be able to return to class the next day and do better. There are lessons that are appropriate for that disrespectful behavior. There are lessons that are appropriate for signs of aggression. There are lessons that are appropriate for skipping class. So it addresses very specific behaviors that the teacher who monitors the learning center would be able to assign. And there are also multiple lessons available. The first time a student skips class, we can assign this lesson. The next time we can assign them something different, still targeting that behavior, but not just a repeat of what they've already been through, teaching them something new that they can do differently next time.
Unfortunately, we can't do things like we used to and let the Board of Education take care of correcting that stuff. So, okay.
It does present the students with a unique and different opportunity for reflection on behaviors that they have not really been afforded previously. We talk to the students about what they did wrong. We say do better next time, but the whole idea of discipline is supposed to be to teach. And so this allows the opportunity for that teaching to occur with a better chance that we will have a better turnout the next time around, because just telling a student you did this wrong doesn't really help them learn from the experience.
Does this actually work? Because if a student tells a teacher to go pound sand, okay, obviously right there he's already got this disrespectful demeanor going towards the teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, by us sending them to a learning center to get a class on how not to do that, what is the actual chance that's actually going to do something?
So 100% chance on the first shot, probably not. There are some students who, from what we saw in Williamsport, one infraction, one time going to the learning center, one time sitting through the lesson, and that's the last occurrence of the behavior. There is always that. There is always an opportunity that the student is not going to completely learn from the experience, and we will end up having a repeat behavior. However, there are different lessons for the student to address that same behavior. Eventually, if we do continue to see the student repeating the behavior, which will happen with a small percentage of students, that involves probably a higher tiered intervention, a more intensive support for that student. Counseling services would need to be looked at. But before we get to a tier 2 intervention, we need a tier 1
So
intervention.
this is all tier 1 intervention
Yep,
stuff.
that
here.
any student
Okay.
has access to.
Okay, all right, and because that was my concern, is the fact that you're gonna send a kid to there, okay? First of all, parents don't give two hoots what's going on with this kid,
Mhm.
all right? So they find out that, he's cussed out a teacher. Parents like, yeah, okay, so what? And then, you're not getting the support of the parent. So then whenever you're trying to actually implement this, okay, that would be something that would go along the lines of moving up to like a tier 2.
Mhm.
Okay, whereas you have someone having a bad day, you're saying, well, screw this, or whatever to the teacher.
Mhm.
Just because they're having a bad day, they have this intervention, a tier 1 intervention using, let's say, ripples. Then it's like, okay, well, I'm having a bad day, and I didn't really mean it. That's where it would actually come into play, correct?
Yes, and our long-term goal is to also use completion of the lessons in ripple effect to help students earn back some privileges. So one of the things that they do in their in-school suspension in Williamsport is if a student has completed all of their schoolwork and all of their ripple effect curriculum, they're allowed to leave that in-school suspension room and go to lunch. And then they come back to the in-school suspension room, continue on their day there. And if they complete everything they're supposed to do that second half of the day, they don't have to stay for after-school detention. So even if that doesn't pose meaningful for the parents, that's meaningful for the student. And it gives them some intrinsic motivation to complete the ripple effect lesson because they get things back for doing that.
Okay.
I think ultimately though, too, you also want to try to get to what's behind that behavior, what's driving it, because your behavior is, an action of something that you're trying to express. And how can you express that more appropriately? So getting behind why they're doing what they're doing, I think is going to be important. And it's at least something more beneficial than what we're doing now by just having them go to a room and complete their assignments. So we're actually being responsive to we're trying to educate them on how to handle themselves in a more appropriate manner or to better understand themselves, to understand why they're behaving the way that they're behaving and what could be a more appropriate way to still express
Okay.
themselves.
All right.
And the cool thing about that too is it's a one-time fee. Like annual, you just pay 10% of your costs. So you wouldn't pay that full amount every year. You would have that for the duration as long as we would want to use it, which is very cool.
So we're only paying a one-time cost of 13,700.
And then annually that we would want to use it, we would pay 10% of that. And that's just really for like any maintenance fees. An update of curriculum.
Is there, do you go through expendables? Is there expendables in this or?
Nope.
No.
It's all electronic?
Yep. And they do have some pre-prepared units, but we can also prepare our own based on the lessons that are available.
And who does that?
The teacher who is in our learning center would be the one who does that to address the specific behaviors that students are sent for.
Okay. Now, would that those lessons be brought in front of the board for us to evaluate them? Because I mean, it falls back in under the whole curricular or curriculum type stuff.
It's more supplemental, but we can certainly pull, we can do samples and see.
That would,
And
okay,
if- For the whole board, I think maybe doing a couple samples is appropriate. If a board member wants to get further into it, then we would invite that board member in to sit with Deb or someone
Okay.
to kind of work through the.
I'm good with that. I just, for the board to be able to see what's going on, that type of thing. That's what I'm looking at.
And we would, it's the same thing we would allow a parent if they want to know.
Right.
We already have policies in place. If parents want to look at what we're doing in particular, they can come in.
Right. Well, I mean, we're an open book whenever it comes to showing our curriculum. So, and that is by law. So, okay. All right. What do you think, Paulie?
So I'm good with that. I guess I was just kind of looking at everything here. We skipped second step, right? And we went down to ripple effect.
Yes.
We'll go back.
But so I guess I'm looking at the price tag on all this. I'm fine with the ripple effect one. It's a one-time cost. I don't have any discrepancies with that. I was wondering when we're going to get a renewal cost on the second step.
I have that to share with you tonight.
Okay.
So, Paula, do you want to circle back around and do the presentation for Character Strong?
Can I get the price on the second step first?
Sure. So I have asked them for 2 quotes, and one is a 1-year agreement and one is a 3-year agreement. So the 3-year obviously comes at a discount. For 1 year, and this is without the high school license with it, because they are willing to give us a year to pilot at the high school level since it is a new curriculum for them. So K-8 for next year would be $16,070. And if we were to
Well, I'm sorry. Say that again.
16,070. And if we were to do a 3-year agreement, it would be $36,933.30.
Okay. So, and I don't know, this may be in your presentation, but what are there significant differences between this and Character Strong?
The biggest difference between Character Strong and Second Step is the fact that Character Strong has a tier 2 intervention that we would be purchasing. They offer a tier 3 as well, which we are not purchasing. And they have an abundance of resources that teachers can utilize, that counselors can utilize for small group instructions to try to provide that additional support for those students who are struggling. It also has its own universal screener built into the program that can then help lay out the interventions that we would want to use to support those students who are deficient in those areas. The quote for Second Step is now for fully online. So currently our elementary had like box kits and our middle school was online. So this is online for K-12 at this point. So that makes it similar with Character Strong because that was a format that we truly liked with Character Strong. And the images in Character Strong seem to be a little bit mature, and students seem to prefer that, at least from the feedback that we've received. And there are a lot more options during the lessons. So there's games during the lessons, there's writing activities during the lessons, there are videos. There is some variety with Second Step, just not quite as much. And well, you wouldn't have to pay for this but just to be fully transparent. And their professional development and their resources that they send out for free are amazing
For second step or character strong?
for Character Strong.
Okay, because we keep alternating between
Yeah.
second step and character strong. I thought we were talking about second step. Now we're talking about character strong. Yeah, that's, yeah. This, I got numbers down here. I don't even know what I'm writing down for. So, all right.
Well, I know the price tag is very different. So it's the price for second step is essentially the same for 3 years, is essentially the same price for Character Strong for 1. So I didn't know, Polly, if you were asking that because you were not interested in the price tag of Character Strong, and which direction you wanted the presentation to go, or if you still were interested in hearing both.
Well, I mean, it's not that I don't want it to seem like money is my only thought, because it certainly isn't. However, I know that money is going to drive a lot of the, it might be a deciding factor for a lot of people. And if there's not that much of a difference in it, I didn't see any point in causing the conflict. You know what I mean? If they're very similar to each other, why would we stir the pot, so to speak? Does that make sense?
I wish not to stir the pot.
Same.
Too late.
I don't like it when the pot. So I mean, honestly, I don't know what the big deal is with Character Strong. I'm not on Facebook all the time, so I don't know what people are talking about. I don't know what the issues are. My biggest thing with it before was that it was up for vote and we hadn't heard anything about it because we didn't have the meeting, and or it wasn't discussed at the meeting or whatever. And I just felt that it needed to go to the full board for discussion. Because I couldn't make a recommendation. So I mean, I'm not opposed to Character Strong, but I don't see the point in paying the same amount for 3 years for one as we are for 1 year if there's not that big of a difference between the two. When did we get the other one that we're using right now?
Second step, we started using that in about 2018. They were using that the year before I came.
Okay. Is it working fairly well? I mean,
It's our boxes are like antiquated. And the students aren't super engaged with it. That's the feedback that I got. Next to me, I have Christina Onaskonich, and she has taught both Character Strong lessons and second step lessons. So it might be better for her to like explain the difference to you from a teacher perspective of at least the experience in the classroom between Character Strong and second step.
okay. I do have to, and I hope that this is okay. I have to take my daughter to a 4-H meeting, so I have to log off and log back on as soon as I get in service. Can I do that? Like, can you go ahead and talk to Roger and then I'll get on and hop in the middle of it or something?
We could do that, or we could recess until you come back on. It's kind of at your discretion.
I don't want everybody to have to wait on me. It'll take me 10 minutes to get to Beach Creek and then I can log on my phone.
Okay.
Is that okay with you, Roger?
Yeah, we'll be here.
Okay, I'm really sorry. I have 10 million things going on.
Okay, no, hey, that's cool. At least you're here.
I'm
So-
trying. I'm trying.
I know.
So
I know.
I will, as soon as I get to Beach Creek, I'm going to log on my phone. And
All
I'm
right.
really sorry. I hope everybody's okay with this.
Oh, I tell you what, it's horrible, Polly.
My daughter will kill me if she misses her 4-H meeting.
All right, get going. Log
Okay,
in
I'll
as
be
soon as
right
you
back
can.
on. All right, thanks.
All right. Okay, she won't call it, but I will. We need to recess until she gets back in because that way we have a quorum. So if we want to take a recess for 10 minutes until she logs back on, let's do that. So pause the
Okay.
video.
taking a recess at 6:42.
Okay.
Okay, we're back in session now. We took a short little break. But now that you're back, then we will come back and break. Oh,
My phone's dead.
all right, we got the camera and the mic turned back on.
Can you hear us? Paulie, can you hear us? Okay. Paulie, can you hear us now? Paulie. I didn't even get a text from her. Maybe it's on Facebook. Oh, let's take it off. Airplane.
Ollie, can you hear us now?
Polly. Call her. Oh, hold it. I got something. Okay, through. I'm back. I'm back on, but I can't hear anything. I can hear, but it's saying the host won't let me unmute.
Okay, that's.
Hold on a second.
I'll fix that.
Can you talk now?
There you go. Now you can unmute. Sorry about that.
Okay, got it. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Sorry, I've gotten
Thank
out of the habit
God.
of controlling Zoom meetings.
All right. Okay, so while you were gone, we kind of went into recess. So we were talking about the second step and how this is the first year for the K through 12. And then we also got to talking about how Character Strong, oh, I'm telling you what, we were bouncing back and forth. I didn't know what we were talking about, but the way that I'm understanding it, yes, we're going to pay 3 years for what we would for 1 year of Character Strong, but Character Strong has tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 support, where second step only offers tier 1 support. And then not only that, but one of the reasons why we were discussing this, one of the reasons why a lot of it got shot down the first time that this was brought up was because of it did not go through the committee the proper way. So
Right.
The question is, if we were to say, yes, let's bring this back to the full board with the blessing of the committee, would that have a difference? Because I was kind of like, I know for a fact there's going to be at least 1, 2, 4 votes that are going to be no.
Okay, but I guess my question is, and I don't know if you'll know this answer, maybe it's a question for those 4, is why? I know that there was a few things, but I feel like they were just, because just like one-sided research, you look up what's wrong with this and you can find 10 million things wrong with it. And then, what's right with this, you can find the same amount of right. So it's kind of like one-sided on, and when you're looking for a fault, that's what you're going to find is a fault.
Right.
So
And so
I guess,
if we
I'm
can
sorry,
set
go
that
ahead.
if we can set that part aside and maybe even address that directly and say that, you can certainly find as many things to say that Character Strong is bad as say things that are good on the internet, which we know is not a reliable source. But if we look back at the research and evidence base behind Character Strong, we see it's completely aligned with what we want to accomplish, as well as and this is more nationwide, what we're trying to accomplish to help students become self-regulated learners, but also more specifically what we're trying to do with our profile of a learner and in our comprehensive plan and our mission and our vision is more tightly aligned with the MTSS system, with the teacher supports, with the student supports, with the ongoing professional learning, Character Strong is much more aligned with what we say we want to do than is second step.
Okay. And I think, like, I'm not opposed to it. I told you that before. I'm not necessarily opposed to it. I think that what we need is to have, like teachers, counselors, whoever is using these things to, maybe be present at the board meeting to explain why this is better than what we're using right now. I mean, you don't have to convince me because I don't necessarily see a whole lot terribly wrong with it. I don't know what everybody's issue is with it, but I think if this is something that you feel is needed, I'm not opposed to it. I will put my recommendation in for it, but in order to get, the votes, if you have to convince everybody, you have to get them understanding how you feel about it and why you feel so strongly about it.
The biggest, probably the biggest problem that I've been hearing from the individuals that would vote no on this is that it opens up there's a back door for bringing in critical race theory.
Well,
Okay.
Roger, you've always been one that's on top of that. So
I know that.
Is there an open door or a back door for critical race theory?
You don't want me to answer that right now.
Okay, then I'm going to ask whoever it is that's bringing it forward. Is there an open door or back door for critical race theory?
No, and you have the scope and sequence attached to the agenda. That's for all 3 levels. And you can also sign in and get your own account, like a parent account, and go in and view everything that would be presented to the students.
Okay.
I think maybe this idea of there being a back door that would allow teachers to bring in critical race theory seems a little bit strange to me because everything's a back door. If a teacher is really interested in going against what the curriculum committee and our directors and our principals are asking to do, it's possible for any teacher to do that, and Character Strong doesn't allow that any more or less than anything else that we're doing. So I kind of see that as a bit of a straw man argument, because if a teacher wants to bring that into the classroom and the teacher can do that no matter what curriculum we adopt. If we are at the outset and coming from the curriculum meeting saying that that's not part of what we're doing, the scope and the sequence that we're putting forth is the boundaries that we're using. If someone chooses to go further than that, then there's that same accountability system that we have for any other curricular area where a teacher is doing something that the district is saying that we're not going to do or we can't do.
I think that's a valid point.
Okay.
And I think too, just to point out too, when you have something that's comprehensive with the additional tiers of support, then again, it is board approved resources that are being utilized at those advanced tiers, which only strengthens the fidelity to the program and not any other content that it would then be at the discretion of staff members. So your board approval of something that is comprehensive actually protects teachers, the district, you as board members more, because there's something that's very clear that's board approved. And then if somebody's not using that, that gives us, the latitude to follow our policies that are related to that. So having that as a security net from preventing that from happening, in my opinion.
Not only that, I think Character Strong is a good proactive approach. And if we have a good, solid, proactive approach to social emotional learning, then you don't need as many reactive approaches that, are going to not necessarily prevent the problems, but help them
Okay,
learn.
let me ask you this. Okay. So based upon the scope and sequence, I'm looking at the 7th grade for the 35 sessions. We're looking at S5 and S6 values in action. Okay. The sectionary here. Okay. We're talking about values now. Okay. Whose values are we talking about? Because anybody, if one person might have different values than another person, and that opens up that's, I think what they're saying is that's where it
Sure.
kind of opens up.
But if you read
Issues.
what that's saying, S5 and S6, isn't we are teaching you values, but we're teaching that you have values, and other people might have different values, and it's really important for us to spend the time working together to understand that different people have different values. And that doesn't mean you need to adopt somebody else's, but the way you think about things is probably different than the way I think about things. It doesn't make us enemies. It means that we have an opportunity to learn from each other. That's what that value section is talking about, not, I'm gonna tell you what your values should be. That's not what we're doing.
Well, I'm
I mean,
pointing, I'm
that's what
pointing
that
out
says.
things,
Sure,
you know what I'm saying, that are gonna be thrown.
sure.
Yeah.
And that's
So-
what those things are saying right there is, everybody has different values. We need to talk about the idea that everybody has different values and that's okay.
And the values component is actually also in the health standards for Pennsylvania as a required, like we need to explicitly teach that part of our own personal identity is our own values. Values are different. And those are like, that's a state required standard for us to hit, just in the terms of understanding how we work together as humans.
I'm going to be looking into that biology and anatomy and that whole stuff in there, and I'm going to be seeing what it says.
Yeah.
So.
But that's the health standards, like not the science standards, but the health standards that have existed for years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
I'm
I know what you're saying,
Yeah,
but-
yeah. So, all right. I mean, that's my big concern is that, you know, they're going to be looking at this and saying, oh, well, you know, what I just said.
Mhm.
Okay. And I'm trying to point this out.
Oh, that's
So,
good.
Mhm.
all right.
So then
I
they
wanna make
could
sure
sign
we're-
in and go to that lesson and see that lesson also play out.
And nowhere in the lesson
Huh?
does it say there's a scripted set of values.
Where can I sign in to see that?
You have to create an account.
Okay. So
to
I
do that.
did do that. Okay. I went in and I created an account. And I still don't understand how to get in there and do that thing.
We can
So,
sit down with you, Roger.
okay, that would be really good because, I mean, I used my KCSD account and I went in and I, you know, looked it up as a director, you know, created the account as a director. So, you know, I'm trying to see what's in there and yeah, I'm dumb.
Do you think it would be helpful to have like the values lesson printed out for the full board meeting so that
That's actually, what do you think, Polly? I think that might actually be a good idea.
Yeah, I do
that way
too.
people don't have to go searching? You can just
Yep.
say, you know,
Yeah,
if this is,
the more
if
that
this
you
is one
show
you-
them, the better off you're gonna be.
and if you feel like that's the one that's going to be
The more
a trigger or something
Well, yeah,
like
I mean,
that, then-
seriously, I can see that
Yeah.
being a trigger.
So we
Oh,
might as
yeah.
well be proactive. Yeah.
So. You have anything else on this, Polly?
No, I don't.
So why don't we do this? If you don't want to go through the presentation, we'll attach the presentation to this agenda so you can look at it later if you want to or not.
Well, I mean, honestly, I think, I'm sorry to interrupt, Frank, but I think that like anything that we discuss now is gonna have to be completely rediscussed then
Yeah.
at the board meeting, because they're gonna have questions and stuff. So,
Sure.
if we just, go over it all there, I think we might be better off.
So we'll put
I
it-
mean, if you're okay with that, but with what we've already talked about and, explain, our side of it.
For sure. I think that's, I think it's still a good idea to put the presentation, Christina, that you have onto this agenda. So that, because it's a public agenda and the other board members can look at it, that if they want to get some more of the background that they weren't here to be part of the discussion.
Yeah, I think the more that we include them and all the information that we have for it is gonna be to the best. I mean, we'll have to do it anyway,
Because their big thing is, we want transparency. Well, give them the transparency. Give them everything
Right.
that you think is anything that you see in this that you feel that could be considered confrontational or anything like that. Make sure you've got a lesson for it to show, okay, this is what this is going to look like. Okay. That's something
Yeah.
that I would highly recommend you do. Because
Yeah.
if you're putting it right out there for everybody to see, okay, it's more likely going to get support that way than, oh, well, Wikipedia says this and Wikipedia says that and Google says this and Google says that. I mean, I'm going to be honest, everything that's on Wikipedia and Google I know is true. So, but it's just, so. Well, sure. Let me guess. Oceanfront property in Arizona?
Is there anything else we needed to go over? Or is everybody good with what we've talked about?
Well, the big question is though, Paulie, I mean, the cost of Character Strong is going to be that 36.3 for 1 year. Whereas,
And that's after the initial year.
so every year thereafter, it's going to be 36,000.
Yes, the first
Right.
year is like 46 because it has all of the professional development.
But this is
Well, and that's what I said. That's going to be the biggest,
Mhm.
the hardest selling point, because that's significantly higher than what we have right now. So,
And we
You're-
could use PCCD money for this year. And then because we already have second step, that would have to come out of general fund.
yeah, I mean,
It's true. The Warhawks are going to be all over that.
well, rightfully so.
I mean,
That's
yeah,
a
I
lot of money.
agree, but
it's,
at the same time, I mean, it's like,
At the end of the day,
so the question is do we want to recommend it or not? Right? That's the question.
yes, that's the question. At the end of the day, we need to do a really good job of teaching our learners to be self-regulated so that the way that they interact with each other and with teachers and with the environment is conducive.
I will be in just a minute.
And we have some work to do there. The reason we're recommending Character Strong is because it does a better job of helping our staff, help our students become the self-regulated learners that we promise the community we're teaching our kids to be. So
Yeah.
it's coming from us because it does a better job of getting us to where we said we're taking the district.
I mean, I'm okay with recommending it. I'm kind of on the old school side that I don't feel like we're going to get through to them if their parents aren't on our side too, but I'm okay. I'm okay with recommending it, and we'll see what everybody else thinks. I mean, a recommendation is a recommendation. It doesn't mean anybody's going to go for it.
right.
So it's ultimately up to the rest of the board anyway. So whether we recommend it or not, we're going to have to go through it all at the meeting and see what they think. See what the whole board thinks.
I think one of the biggest things to make sure that everybody is mindful of is the fact that even though it's more costly, you're getting all 3 tiers. So that, 3 times more, you're getting 3 times more.
Right. It's a matter of, is it getting through to the kids?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, that's the bottom line. But yeah, I'm okay with recommending it, and then we'll go through the presentation and we'll see what the board thinks as a whole.
This is something that you're going to have to point this type of stuff out. Like, okay, under, second step or whatever it is.
Cheyenne, I know, I'm coming. Just hold on. Sorry.
That's all right. I know.
Says any mom who's ever been on a Zoom.
Well, we're late for her meeting, and so she's all upset. So.
But the big thing is that, I mean, under second step right now, we don't have all the supports and everything.
Yeah.
So
that's what I need somebody to give me a rundown on a list that I can look over when I present this to the rest of the board. Why is Character Strong what we need versus what we have? Make them understand the support for something. Yeah.
Something like that.
And honestly, you guys are probably going to have to be instead of giving me the list, you guys are going to have to be the ones to be like, this is why I support it. This is why we need it. And then, maybe have some extra support there with other teachers saying, this is this is why we have to have this over this.
Holly, would it be helpful or useful for you to try to set up a time where you could come in and sort of talk through that conversation prior to the board meeting? Maybe the Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday before?
I can try, Frank. I'm doing my best right now to try to keep up with what I have juggling, but
I hear you. If it works for you, then I absolutely want to make sure we can accommodate that. I know we can accommodate it, but I want to provide that as an opportunity for you if you want.
yeah, and I appreciate that. I'm not the one that is not convinced on it. I think it's a decent curriculum. I don't see anything horrible about it. Like I said, the reason I went against it before was mainly because it just didn't go through the proper channels like it should have. And I didn't have enough teachers, counselors, whatever. That's what would have swayed my vote, to have more people there supporting it. You know, more people saying, well, we've been using it for X amount of days or X amount of time, and it's really been a lot better than what we are using right now. You know what I mean? Like, that would have made me say, okay, this is the support they need, and I'm going to give it to them.
And one of the things that I would also say is, you've already piloted this. The co-curricular committee had no idea that you were piloting the program. So anytime in the future, whenever you guys decide you want to pilot something, let us know. That way we're not getting kind of blindsided about the whole thing. Okay.
Yeah.
We good with that?
Yeah.
Okay. So, all right.
Holly, anything else from the agenda or anything else for co-curricular?
No, I don't have anything that nobody's brought anything to me either. So I think I'm good with everything.
So are you then asking for a move for adjournment from Roger?
Yes, please. That'd be great.
And I agree what Frank said.
All
So,
right.
all right.
Thank you. Sorry,
All
guys.
right.
I really appreciate you waiting on me.
No problem.
No problem.
Holly.
See you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.